You've got questions, we've got answers. Welcome to the Therapist Question Box, where trauma-trained therapists tackle real questions from real people. I'm your host, Lindsay bringing you grounded insights you can actually use, brought to you by Therapy Utah. Welcome back to another episode of the Therapist Question Box. We are here to answer your tough mental health questions. Whether it's asking for yourself or asking for a friend, we want to hear what's on your mind. Today I have with me Noah Densley. Noah, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you because today's episode is going to be interesting. It's about a modality that we hear a lot about, and I think it's going to be helpful to explain to people. But before we launch in, Noah is a therapist at Therapy Utah. And he told me he works with teens and young adults. Mm-hmm. And I could say more about Noah, but I'd like you to tell us a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so I'm a new therapist here at Therapy Utah. If we're talking about just me, Noah, I love to be outside. Anything outside, especially fly fishing. If you're going to see me anywhere out there, it's probably on a river somewhere fly fishing.
Nice. Where do you go around
Provo
Utah?
River is I was there last weekend. So.
Nice.
And I want to go today. Might go today.
Is it too fast still? Like, is the flow too fast?
It's kind of sketchy.
Okay.
I shouldn't risk what I do for my flies to not lose them. I should just be okay with losing them. It's kind of with the spring, it's kind of sketchy sometimes. Yeah. But I love just being out there. It's good for me to just shut off and just do one thing.
Nice.
Besides that, I'll do anything outside. Like me and my wife would go camping, hiking. Yeah, I'm a big board games guy. We're always doing game nights with family, friends and stuff. Yeah, so I just like to have fun, just relax and spend time with good people.
Love that. That's awesome. So tell us about the type of people you see in therapy.
Yeah, I would say I love working with teenagers. I think they're super fun. And for me, they get really raw sometimes. And they look for a place sometimes where they haven't been able to be open. And if they can find a good therapist, I think they really open up. And I look at it as almost like preventative care and like an investment in teenagers.
I love that idea.
I love it. It's so fun. And then like anxiety, depression, those are two things that I work commonly with. ADHD, that's something that I have. And so I love to work with it. And I think it's something that people don't really understand a lot about. And so I find it pretty easy to work with that. And men's issues, just things like that. I'm pretty open to everything, but those are some things that I really thrive in.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah. I love the idea of preventative care with teens. That's a great perspective, that we're preventing some things because they're young, they're moldable. I love that idea. So very cool. So today we're going to talk about DBT. We've heard a lot about DBT. It's a therapeutic modality that's been used for a long time. But here's the question. I've heard of DBT skills, but when I'm actually upset, I forget them all. I'm like, join the club, listener.
Story of my life.
Yeah. Here's the rest of it. How do you actually use these in the moment? So this is someone who's actually knows a little bit about DBT, but it sounds like it's hard to access, which again, join the club. It is hard when things are hard. Yeah. So let's start with what DBT is, first of all. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So DBT, it stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy. And so we've heard about like CBT, ACT, all those things. I think all of this is like big on TikTok. You see all these things everywhere. And so the term dialectical is really important to DBT. And so it's a derivative of CBT that focuses a lot on mindfulness and has a big emphasis on a part of this question with emotional regulation. And so what dialectical means is there's tension in all things. There's opposition in all things, emotions, experiences. And it's how do we take both sides of those and kind of synthesize it together to not compromise, but pick the best parts of both of those sides to make something that's realistic for the person. So it's very person-centered, but it's also very structured.
Okay, so can you give me an example of opposition in all things? So tell me, like, when you're talking about the opposites, give our listeners an example of that.
Yeah, so an example I heard recently was, question really quick, are you a dog person or a cat person?
To be honest, I'm a neither person.
Neither person.
However,
okay.
That being said, I have a dog and my heart has changed. So I like my dog, which is actually a miracle. And we could do a whole podcast episode about that. But I would say if I had to choose, it would be a dog.
Okay. So let's say you're going to the store and you're walking past a window and you see 12 puppies and you're like, oh man, I've got to have all of these puppies. I want to take all of them home. And then there's another side of you that's like, I can't. There's no way. And so this synthesis is like, okay, what do we take from both of those sides to find a reality of like, maybe that's something I push on in the future, or maybe I bring one home and I'm in a spot where I can do that. And so this synthesis of this opposition of both things, it's very personal. It's going to be different person to person, but it's the ability to find what's valid in both sides of distress, whether it's about something big or something small. We're going to have like two kind of voices in our head saying different things. And so being able to be in a spot where we can pull good and bad from both to make what we need personally.
Okay. So the 12 puppies idea, that was hilarious because I'm like, oh man, there's not one bone in my body that would ever want 12 puppies.
You'd walk away without any.
I would walk away without any because that feels like a disaster waiting to happen with potty training and everything else. Now, if we were to say, okay, there's value on both sides, right? So if someone's going through, let's say, anxiety, how can you tell somebody that there's value in their anxiety?
I think it's important that we understand that you're feeling it, and that's good. It's good to feel distress, because that means if you weren't feeling it, that would be a different problem. And so from there, what dialectical behavioral therapy does is it puts us in a spot where we can make a better decision to bring our emotions down to closer to baseline, so that we're able to see then, okay, let's say like traffic, for example. This is something that I think everybody experiences, distress, right? I've got to be somewhere. My map says 8 minutes. I got to be there in 3. What do I do, right? There's a reality of where we're already in the situation, right? We're already there, but that's kind of hard to accept. So what can you do in that moment, right? Like very actionable thing. There's a lot of different skills that DBT offers, but a lot of it just takes in, okay, what can I accept from this right now? What can I take and be okay with? And what in the future can I ask myself to not be in that situation again, right? Because I'm not going to go back, and I can't change that I left 5 minutes late. And I'm not the best at this. It drives my wife crazy. I'm not the most timely person sometimes. She calls it the Densley timetable of my family. We're always running a little late, but we're going to be there and we're going to have fun.
That's funny because it's called Row Standard Time. Same thing. So my siblings are the same way. So we know about that. Yeah. But you're always running a little late. So there's a lot of stress around it.
Right? Yeah. And that's something that I feel like people would feel all the time, right? Small stress like that. And so being able to pull ourselves in a place where we're being reasonable and emotional at the same time and holding both of those with value, and then finding this idea that DBT has of the wise mind, kind of a synthesis in the middle of valid things from both of, I'm going to be late. What can I do to fix that when I get there? Do the things that I need to do quickly, but also not stress to wish I could go back and change what I did beforehand to get myself in this situation.
That is, I think that's so powerful, because we could say, I'm late, here I go, I did it again. Gosh, I can't figure it out. Or, you know what? It's not my fault. Look at this traffic. It's whatever. It's not my fault. And neither one of those places do anything to actually help us get there, or get there in a place of regulation where we feel like, oh, I'm not so upset. But if we can say, yes, I accept it. I've made this choice, and this is what I'm going to try to do to be intentional about not having it happen again. I mean, that feels forward thinking. That feels hopeful. Yeah. So I love that idea. When you said wise mind, why don't you describe what wise mind is?
Yeah. So this is something in the structure of mindfulness that DBT has. It's one of I would say, the most applicable skills for everybody. And so you have this emotional mind, the freak out, the thing that you feel in your chest, your tensions rise, you feel yourself getting tight. And then you have this reasonable mind that's like, we're going to miss this. We're going to be late. And then we try to sometimes logic ourselves out of anxiety. And to me, at least, I find that as like the definition of insanity. I've tried it over and over.
As have I. Does not work.
Nope. And so the wise mind is kind of something, not really a point in the middle, and it's not a compromise between these two, the emotional mind and the reasonable mind, but it's what's valid from both. What can I pull from both of these to be like, okay, you know what, for this next 5 minutes in this drive, I'm just going to listen to a song that I love, that's going to help me just kind of distract myself for a second from this emotional mind and this reasonable mind. Maybe this reasonable mind is kind of negative self-talk, and This emotional mind is the stress of what I'm going to miss there. And so being able to be there for a second, and then in the future when you get there to the place that you need to be, that's when you can handle those things. But the wise mind is just very present and mindful and understands, okay, what can I do and what can't I do?
I love that idea of the emotional and reasonable mind, because we have both of those minds, right? And we're not trying to shut one down and be like, that emotional mind needs to get out of here, or it's only reasonable. Like, we can only reason. Because when we're only using one of those sides of our brain, we're in trouble, right? We all know people that are only in emotion, and you're like, holy crap, this is not working. And we know people that are only logical, and we're like, yeah, this is not going to work too, because there's no emotion or compassion with it. But understanding that both need to exist together is where the wise mind is. I love that reminder. So, you know, as our listener said, that I don't know if it's a she or he, but that they have a hard time using it in the moment. What would you say to this listener about using it in the moment?
I would say the first thing is to recognize the emotion. Recognize that we're in a dysregulated state.
Okay, can I stop you?
Yeah.
Because this one's really important. How do we recognize we're in a dysregulated state?
I think that's a body check-in. So there's a million books about how our bodies tell us what we're needing. And so being able to recognize signs that you personally have that, hey, I'm not in the spot. I'm not ready to do this, or I'm not ready to have this conversation, something like that. It's our body's going to give us signs, right? Maybe I tense up. Maybe I start breathing more in my chest and it's really fast. Something like that will tell you, okay, what do I need to look at and what emotion is this?
Yes. So I'm going to let you keep going, but I want to just take a beat here on this one, because I think this one's so important. So many clients that I have had have said, I'll say, where do you feel it? What does it feel like to you? Where does this anxiety, where do you feel it in your body? And you know what they'll tell me? Well, I think about it this way. And they go right to their thinking. And I will say, no, get back in your body. Where do you feel it in your body? We're actually really good at ignoring our bodies, unfortunately. We're good at saying, you know what? I'm tired. You know, I don't have time to sleep. I'm hungry. I don't have time to eat. I don't want to eat, whatever. So we've gotten really good at ignoring our bodies. When I say good, I mean we're proficient at it. It's not helpful. But people recognizing their bodies and you saying that is the first sign. And it is the first sign when there is distress. So I think that reminder is so important. Pay attention to your body. Pay attention to your body. It will tell you when something's off. Okay, so that's the first step, is when you're dysregulated, pay attention to your body. What next?
Yeah, and then from there, I like that. I want to go back a little bit. I like that you use the word like proficient at it, right? I think it becomes like, it's like an adaptive trait.
That's right.
Like the world is stressful. Life constantly is going to throw things at us. And that's where this like tension that I was talking about earlier fits in. And so we become kind of maladaptively reacting and trained to respond in a certain way. So we skip the step, right, of going to our body. And so from there, once we feel it and we know what it is, as we do that over and over, we're going to learn the differences, the subtle differences in different emotions, right? Because it's not always stress, maybe. It might be a lack of sleep. It might be hunger. It might be stress that I have about some bills coming up. Maybe I'm just thinking about that because it's the beginning of the month. But we're able to slowly start to like kind of get into the nitty-gritties of what these emotions actually are. And then we can figure out what we need to do to bring our body back down so that we're in this wise mind to be able to find this synthesis of these two things.
So give us some concrete tools about how to bring your body back into regulation.
Yeah, so there's a lot that DBT has to offer. And so one of them that I love is it's called like the TIP scale or the TIP. There's a variety of different things in there. And so not all of these you can do all the time. You kind of got to find personally for you what you can do and when. And so the T, it's an acronym. So the T in this stands for temperature. This is something that I find myself doing in the winter, is if I'm getting stressed out in the car, I just roll down all the windows and I just let that cold air come in, because it tells my body that there's something different than this state that I'm in. Because sometimes we get so locked into that dysregulation that we're like, this is reality. This is all it is. And so that to my body is like, whoa, there's a lot else out there.
And it also requires you to be present in the moment, because you're like, I am freezing. This is miserable. And your brain all of a sudden isn't thinking about what was in the past, what's in the future. It's now. I'm freezing. This is uncomfortable. Yeah. I like that.
And so that,
I mean, I don't like that. I actually think that sounds miserable.
No, it's not.
Yet I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's not fun. Some of these things, they don't feel great.
Right.
But what they do, you can't get it anywhere else.
You get back online, right? Getting your brain and your body back online.
Yeah, it's just a little course correction. Yeah. Right. And so then the I in this stands for intense exercise. And so that's not going, I'm not saying you need to go to HotWorks and do a 45-minute Pilates session or whatever. Just something short and quick that can get your body to release these endorphins that we release through exercise, like taking a fast-paced walk outside, going up and down the stairs 3 times. Something just to get you in a different setting, in a different mind space. It's going to happen as you move your body, because then your body can kind of release this tension that you feel, if it's something like that for you.
Yeah. I love that. So then what is our last one with the P? Where's P?
So we've got 2. We've got paced breathing.
Okay.
Something to just breathe more through your stomach, kind of like belly breathing rather than with our chest that we do when we're anxious.
Okay.
And then paired muscle relaxation. And that one's kind of a little bit more complex. It takes somebody laying down and tightening up their muscles and slowly releasing it, almost like some sort of like relaxation technique. Just something to acknowledge where in your body you're feeling tension and almost seeing it like leave your body.
Okay.
And so this is something that I would see work really well with teens. It helps them identify where they're feeling things in their body, so that in the future when they get in that situation again, they can be like, okay, this is what it looks like for me.
Yeah, I love that. So let's bring it down practically. So if I'm at the grocery store, I'm at school, how can I do temperature or paired muscle relaxation? Like, give me a tool. Like, how can I use this when I'm in public? What would that look like?
Yeah, so I think in movies we see a lot of times where people like splash cold water on their face and they go in the bathroom, they look in the mirror and they're like, okay, like reset a little bit. That's something that a lot of studies show that will bring your stress down pretty quickly. And so just that abrupt change in temperature with like water on your face can just bring you right back down.
I've heard that same thing with holding ice cubes. I've actually had clients do that. Yeah. I've given them ice cubes and have them hold them in their hands in my office. Same idea.
Yeah, that's a great one too, right? So something that's drastically different than what we're at. And so I think with a lot of these, it's like, how can I get myself and my mind kind of out of this experience through cold temperature maybe, or slowing down my breathing and really going through like a roller coaster breathing that people do, or like box breathing, those kind of things that can get you to be aware of what your body's doing. And then from there, after is when you're able to really think about things with like that clear, wise mind that we talk about.
I love that. So even for me, I will say, when you said the roller coaster breathing, what you guys didn't see is Noah was tracing his hand up and down, right? Going up and down with his breath in and out. And the box breathing, I actually trace that on my palm as well. Deep breath in for 4, exhale, hold for 4, exhale for 4. And you know what? I have been known to do that in the grocery store line. If something is happening, I'll just trace my hand, or I'll take a deep breath in for 4 and then exhale for 6. That slower exhale brings our body back into that regulation. So I love that, because I think sometimes these ideas are so good, but sometimes we're like, we're actually not in a place where we can do this. So we need to know, how can I use this like right now in a place where I'm with people, I can't, but I'm not okay, right? So I love that idea of splashing water, ice cubes, breathing. Some of those things can get our body back into regulation and back into the wise mind.
Yeah, breathing that's something that I do. I do that before every session with a client, just so I can check in with myself and be like, okay, like I want to be fully present here for this experience, so that they can get the best from me that they're looking for. And I do that all the time. Just seeing, okay, how am I breathing right now, and checking in on that. And if I see that it's a lot of like chest breathing that's really fast, like, okay, I'm going to breathe through my stomach now, and just really pull it in, let it sit there for a little bit, and breathe out longer than you breathe in. That's something that some studies are showing that is where it starts to really help, is when you do that longer exhale.
That longer exhale is actually tells our nervous system we're safe, right? I love that. And that's so easy. Like just make your exhale longer than your inhale, and your nervous system starts to settle, right? You know, I will say, when you said every time before a client, I do some breathing, I thought, that is awesome. I have never done that. I love that idea. But it takes time to change. It takes time to build those habits. I imagine you didn't always do that, but now you've said, okay, this is something I want to do. And so how would you encourage our listener to build consistency with these habits?
I would say try different things out, and then find the one that you think works the best. And then from there, just put reminders around. Something I do is like some sticky notes sometimes. I like to leave my clients with sticky notes of either like a word or phrase or something from session, so that they can put it somewhere to be reminded of it throughout the week.
Nice.
Or the 2 weeks. So put a reminder in your phone, right? It's like, hey, like, how am I breathing right now? An alarm. I have a million alarms set throughout the day.
I do too. Noah, me and you both. Yes.
I've got one that it's like a 9 o'clock alarm that I can't even remember what I set it for, but now it just reminds me that it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So just things like that, like something.
And do you keep it on your phone, Noah, just to know it's 9 o'clock?
It turned into that. I think I can't remember what it was for in the beginning, but now it's just
awesome.
It's 9 o'clock, and I know that, and it's like a good opportunity for me to check in, and be like, hey, I gotta get ready to go to bed, and it's important that we have something to kind of pull us out, right? And when we do it more and more, we'll be able to do it for ourselves naturally. So like how we've been. It's like almost like intuitive, like you were saying, to have these reactions. When we start to do those things, we almost unlearn that and learn new skills to put in.
Right. Excellent. I like the idea of unlearning. Our brains there's plasticity. We can unlearn and we can relearn things. We just have to be mindful of it. Mm-hmm. And that idea of checking in, I have clients do that same thing, morning, noon, and night, check in, have an alarm, and just do an assessment from head to toe. Where do you feel tension in your body? What do you feel? And be aware of it, because we've got to get more aware of what's going on in our body. Yeah. So with that, is there anything that you are like, oh, I really want to share that I haven't shared or that we didn't talk about today?
Yeah, I think I've talked a little bit about acceptance, and that's something that is a big part of DBT, and the term radical acceptance. I think this is really important, because when I first heard it, I was like, I'm not going to accept this stuff. Some of the stuff that I feel throughout the day, right? Like, let's say like conflict with family. Like, it's hard to be like, I'm going to accept this. And that's not, it's not what DBT says. It's just like, throw your hands up, right? And so I wanted to define what acceptance is for the viewers, because I think that's a super important skill that we can use. Okay. And so the term radical acceptance, it's not, if you hear that used by your therapist in a DBT session, it's not just like the approval of saying like, you know what, this distress, that's great. I'm okay with it. And it's not just like kind of giving up, but it's more of, we almost want to reduce like our fanatical ideas that we get. Like in that situation when you're in traffic, you're like, oh, if I had left 5 minutes earlier, you know, and we get all these fantasies. And I think that's kind of when we start to build up this dysregulation, because we're wishing for things that they're not reality. And it doesn't mean that it's not valid to think that, but they can't be reality. And so this idea of acceptance, I think it can be used in that traffic situation and in something as complex as like a cancer diagnosis. My wife is a nurse, and she used to work at a children's hospital with cancer. And those kids hearing like a terminal diagnosis, right? Like, how would you accept that? I think something important to know with that is, what's the alternative to accepting it? And not that you should just give up and be given to despair, but being able to say, you know what? I don't know what the alternative is. And that acceptance for me is going to look very different than it may look for somebody else. But how can I find what that acceptance looks like that holds my emotional experience as valid, but also gets me in a spot where I can think clearly in this wise mind?
Yeah. I think acceptance is one of the most powerful tools that we use in therapy and to get to an emotionally regulated state. When you talked about radical acceptance, I think it feels radical because no one wants to accept a cancer diagnosis. No one wants to accept the hard thing that has happened. So it actually does feel radical to say, I'm accepting this, because in fact, most people don't want to accept it. They don't want to accept that there's something hard going on, or that life isn't going the way they want it to, or that this happened in the past. That feels radical to accept it. Yeah. So I really appreciate that understanding and acceptance. When we can learn to accept things, it doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't mean that we're actually like, yeah, we're fine. No, that's not what this is about. It's accepting reality, right? I remember the phrase that when we argue with reality, we suffer. Ooh. But only 100% of the time.
That's good.
Right?
I like that. Like, I'm gonna use that.
Right? I love that reminder. Like, you argue with reality, you will suffer every time. It doesn't mean reality's fair. It doesn't mean it's fun. It doesn't mean it's nice, but it means it is. So I love that reminder. There's actually a book that's probably one of my favorite books of all time. I would say it's in my top 3 or 4. I tell people it actually changed my life. It's called Loving What Is. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's all about radical acceptance and accepting reality. And if it's really goes along well with DBT, but an excellent read. So for our listeners that are interested, it's awesome. So
yeah, I love that, because it's like when we get fanatical, if we like wish something was different, right? It's hard, and like you said, like radical, like there's going to be pain, there's going to be suffering. And on the opposite side of refusal, I think that just prolongs the pain, just pushes it forward.
Yes.
And so it's when are you gonna face it, but what do you need to face it? And that's important to ask yourself, okay, if I'm gonna radically accept this, what do I need then? How do I do that to the best that I can do? What resources do I need?
And I think understanding too that radical acceptance doesn't just happen. Like you have to go through grieving, and there's fear, and there's lots of complexities that happen before we can get to acceptance. So allowing those feelings, grief and pain and fear, to be there, and then getting to acceptance. Like we don't just get this diagnosis or get this news and go, okay, here we go, I'm going to accept it. Then we also have another problem because we're just trying to push things away. But when we allow those feelings to come and emotions to come, then we can get to a place of acceptance.
Yeah. And that looks so different for everybody.
Every person.
Just trying it. You can learn these things, you can hear it, but you just got to try it and see how it works for you. And that's what I think the beauty of therapy is you have somebody who can help you go through that and have it kind of be supervised and structured in a way where I'm going to help my client figure out how they do that. You know, how does Lindsay do that? How does Noah do that in the best way?
I love that. And I completely agree with you that's a structured environment, holds you accountable and helps you keep moving forward, right? Yeah. Excellent. Well, I love the reminder of acceptance. We talked a lot about that. And the idea of the wise mind, of emotional and the reasonable mind, that there's not one or the other, but it's taking the best of both. That's where the wise mind lies. Recognizing when you're dysregulated. Amen, amen, amen. I tell people, if you are dysregulated, unless there's a fire, you should stop what you're doing and figure out what's going on for you. Try to get back into a regulated state, because you don't ever show up as your highest and best self when you're dysregulated. So I love that reminder. And the tip scale, temperature, rolling down the window, great idea. Sounds horrible, but great idea.
Not fun.
Intense exercise also doesn't sound that fun. But again, our goal is not to be comfortable. It's to get our body back online, right? Paced breathing and that paired muscle relaxation. I love the idea of the breathing, where we can do it, what it looks like, just that slower exhale. For our listener, it's like, how do I do it? Just exhale slowly, right? And then the reminders throughout the day so we can remember to check in with our body. So many good things that are so helpful in when understanding what's going on inside of us and how we can become more emotionally regulated. So Noah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you.
It's awesome to be here.
Appreciate your insights, and I hope this will help our listener, and I also hope it will help each one of you as you think about what's going on from an internal perspective. DBT has some amazing skills, as we learned today, and hopefully you can use these in your life. And I loved the idea as well as using them proactively, using them when you're not dysregulated, but checking in with your body and really getting clear about what's going on for you. Well, we appreciate your insights, Noah, and hope this was valuable for you. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. And until next time, take care. That's a wrap for today on the Therapist Question Box. I'm Lindsay Schiss. Thanks for listening. And remember, every question you ask is an opportunity to learn and grow. Brought to you by Therapy Utah.
Hey, this is Kathy Kinghorn. I'm an owner at Therapy Utah. If you'd like to book with one of our trauma-trained therapists, go to www.therapyutah.org. Thanks for listening.